is the way to go for us to succeed and even to be able to collect the revenue that we're supposed to collect and see that we transform our nation from borrowing, from economic slavery, dependency. We have to see that everyone drives the integrity message.
Integrity campaign and efforts need to be in the faces of people so that staff truly move outside that paradigm. We move off it and we live the life with the virtue that people would emulate and talk about URA. If the campaign is taken right away by URA, we champion it and pitch it higher at a national level. I hope our efforts as URA will not stop only within URA. If URA can coordinate it higher, URA should start it and proceed to campaign with other sister government agencies that yes, the loud sound on corruption is truly brought to an end.
URA has defined integrity, and we have defined integrity as people, systems and processes. Today is an anti-corruption day, so we are standing with the rest of the world to kick corruption out of the world. And it starts with me and it starts with you. So it is for everyone, it's everyone's initiative. We have put very many initiatives in place at Uganda Revenue Authority. Recently, we had board approve some policies. We have the anti-fraud and corruption policy, and these policies are put in place to curb corruption at URA.
Just to add my voice on this message about corruption, the fight against corruption. Of course, corruption is detrimental to the objectives of URA. Corruption is detrimental to the objectives and national aspirations of Uganda. And they call upon every one of us in URA to put the fight against corruption as a top priority. And I know with God, we shall definitely win. Thank you.
The effort that have been done has been to talk to staff all the time in our meetings to remind them about our code of conduct, about integrity, because we are supposed to talk about it and we are supposed to walk the talk as leaders. That's the very reason why we go to church every Sunday. They remind us about something every year. That is human nature. So it's good that the publicity and the leaders, we as leaders in URA, to walk the talk so that others possibly can follow.
Me, I have a view of, say, if somebody has caught being in corruption, they should sell off the items equivalent to the money taken to pay back the money.
Fight against corruption starts with me, no one else. I know what is right and I know what is not right. So it will start with me first, then my management comes in, punish me when I'm wrong, advise me what to do and what not to do. And there need be, tell people, I did this and I'm accountable for, and let them know in case they do it, the same go for the same.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
On 5th September 1991, the Uganda Revenue Authority is born through an Act of Parliament, Cap 196 of the Laws of Uganda.
We had just started and they had to bring in an expatriate to start URA. And actually, we worked with him in the same office in that we started from Bank of Uganda, if I can bring that. We started from Bank of Uganda, we worked there, we were about 10 people in that office, all in one room, and then later we shifted to Nakamba, which is our head office today.
After just 2 years of operation, the very first variation of the tax identification number is introduced to provide a unique identifier for taxpayers when transacting with URA. In order to facilitate trade globally, Uganda ratified the Marrakesh Agreement in September 1994 to become a founding member of the World Trade Organization, which currently sits 164 member states. To replace sales tax, between 12% to 30%, and the commercial transaction levy, taxes on commercial transaction, VAT was introduced in Uganda at 17% for more people to contribute to tax indirectly. In the same year, on the global trade facilitation front, Askuda is introduced to Uganda. Entebbe Customs is the pilot site. Trade facilitation in Uganda is changed for good.
Technological transformation that really stood out, that I think really made the biggest change, is the introduction of the system for processing, that is the Askuda. It streamlined the way that processing of customs declaration is done. And now to see that TMU officers can sit in their offices and they just control goods in transit without having to run around with papers the way we used to do. That itself is a very, very big game changer.
With the effort to settle tax disputes between taxpayers and the Uganda Revenue Authority, the Tax Appeals Tribunal of Uganda was established by an Act of Parliament in 1997. However, TAT opens its doors to the public in May 1999. In the same year, the Income Tax Act 1997, Cap 340, comes into force commencing on 1st July 1997.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to URA TV. This is another edition of Customs 101 webinar. And today we are understanding the new passenger baggage clearance at Entebbe Airport. My name is Nicholas Aruho from Customs, and I will be your host today. And today I have officials from Entebbe Airport, the officials who are managing Entebbe Airport. So they will take you through the process for clearing the passenger baggage and all the other information you need to know about the clearances at Entebbe Airport. As you go through Entebbe Airport, especially at arrivals, you need to know the process, you need to know the allowable taxes and the exemptions. So in the studio today, I have three officials from Entebbe Airport. From my extreme left, I have Edith Agaba. She's the supervisor for Entebbe CAPT, which is the arrival section of the airport, URA Customs. Then I have Mr. Showari Chigozi, who is the supervisor for enforcement at Entebbe Airport. And I also have Mr. Gilbert Kwaya, who is in charge of enforcement at Entebbe Airport. And like I said, my name is Nicholas Aruho. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Feel free to send your questions as we go along the way. Go into the chats and type in your questions or comments. We shall respond to all of them. We have our colleagues who are on standby to give answers at any point, and the panelists will also be giving answers to your questions. So along the way, feel free to go into the chat and put in your questions. We shall respond to all of them. And we are also live. You can follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. Follow URA pages, and you will be you will keep updated with whatever is happening. Now, once more, we are talking about the new passenger baggage process at Entebbe Airport. We are looking at the new rules as well as the existing ones, how we are managing the passenger baggage clearance. I will start with you, Edith, the supervisor for Entebbe CAPT. Kindly take us through the process. When the passenger arrives at the airport, what happens? What should they do? And how do you clear their goods? So take us through the process, how from the beginning, and what the passenger should know. Thank you, Edith.
Thank you, Nicholas. Good morning, viewers. My name once again is Edith Agawa, Supervisor, Arrival Passenger Terminal. I'm here to take you through the process of what takes place at the airport. The moment the plane lands up to the time the passenger is exiting through. So when the plane touches the ground, the passengers disembark from the plane. Any passenger arriving at the airport first clears with the immigration. After clearing with the immigration, they proceed to the conveyor belt to pick his or her packages. After picking the baggage, the passenger baggage, that's when they continue. From there, they are supposed to clear through 2 channels, green or red. But irrespective of the channels, every baggage is supposed to be screened. It is supposed to pass through the scanner, non-intrusive process. So whether red or green, every passenger baggage is supposed to through the scanner. But before passing through the scanner, we need to note that a passenger with goods of personal use with value not exceeding $500 when imported by the passenger who has been away 24 hours and above is exempted. That is the passenger who is supposed to pass green. But the one who has goods that are above $500 and they are taxable, those ones pass red channel. So we've seen that those ones now here, the allowance is $500. Currently, it is $500. Now, if the scanner images of a passenger show just personal effects, just maybe used item, maybe what, there is nothing to follow up, and it's within the passenger allowance, then that is the passenger who goes through green channel and continues, he exits the passenger terminal. That's what we mean by the green channel. You are within your allowance as a passenger. But if the scanner images show some dutiable, restricted items, then the passenger is cleared through red channel. What do we mean by red channel? He's supposed to go to customs area. They examine the packages in the presence of the passenger. They see if they are dutables, as in dutables, those that are supposed to pay taxes in the country. They see if they are restricted items. They see if they are prohibited items. So when they are directed, after the scanner, when they are directed to customs area to be examined, that is what we call red channel. But here what we have to know is that every baggage has to be screened. It has to be scanned, whether passing through green channel or red channel. Okay, now we have finished the green channel, we are going to the red channel. When you are passing through the red channel, that means they are going to capture simplified entries, the PB4s. But that one will come out after the officer examining your goods, seeing what type of goods you have, if they are dutables. The examiner will issue a deposit notice of F89, will verify, then the officer will capture the entry, the PB4, that is passenger baggage 4, a simplified entry for passengers who are within the allowance of $2,000. Currently, that's the administrative allowance for passenger baggage. So the officer will capture PB4, attach the verification account, value the goods. How is she going to value the goods? One, the passenger, you should always have your invoice, your receipt, and necessary document so that the clearance is very smooth and clear. If you don't have invoice, because some passengers say we don't have, we didn't keep the invoice, then the officer will go to another method, follow the value guideline, and use other methods. After valuation, the officer will assess and issue assessment notice to the passenger. Here the passenger has all the options of how to pay. She can use the bank, she can use mobile money, he can use Payway, he can use Visa card, but what to note here is that customs or URA, we do not receive cash, payment is done electronically. So when the passenger pays, URA gets notification that this assessment has been cleared. And when it is cleared, then the officer releases and exits, and the passenger is allowed to exit with his goods. But there are scenarios where the passenger maybe is not ready to pay taxes at that point. So there we deposit the goods in customs stores, and those goods are supposed to be kept, that is if he doesn't come to clear after. If he does not clear within 30 days, then those goods are taken to customs warehouse, are waiting for auctioning. That is if the passenger has dutables. If the passenger has restricted goods, what do I mean by restricted goods? Like those goods that need regulatory authorities to allow them to pass. For example, drugs, they will need NDA. For example, drones, those ones will need clearance by CDF. So such items, we deposit them, they inform the regulatory authorities and the government agencies. Then before they are cleared, we cannot release them. We deposit and store them in customs stores. Then if the officer finds that the goods are prohibited, that is automatically an offense which has to be handled under offense management. Those are the two processes, green and red channel. And what is important here is to know the prescribed allowance of a passenger. Every passenger should understand that the passenger allowance is $500 US. That is if they are personal use. But if they are commercial, even if they are $200 US and they are dutable, then they will pay taxes. However, under 5th schedule, there are exemptions by a passenger. That is, if the passenger has been away for 24 hours and above and is returning, there are exemptions. There are those ones that are duty-free. If you've gone, you come with your 1 liter of whiskey, then you are allowed. But if you come with 4, you will be exempted. 1 will be exempted, then the 3 will have to pay taxes. If you come with perfume that are above 500 mils, then 500 mils of perfumes will be exempted, but if you have extra, those ones will have to be taxed according to the 5th schedule. Then, what we have to note here is that donations and gifts pay taxes. Donations and gifts pay taxes, if they are not within the passenger allowance of $500. If you've been working outside and you're coming back with your goods, with your personal items, with your car, if you've been using it in 12 months and so, with all that you have been using in 12 months, for example, TVs, what, there you're exempted and you are returning resident, you're coming back, you're exempted from taxes. I think, in summary, that's what happens at arrivals with the passengers. What is important here to note is the passenger allowance and what is exempted. If you have 2 wines, 2 liters of wines, you are exempted, but beyond that, then you pay taxes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Edith. Thank you so much for taking us through the process of clearance. Viewers, thank you so much for tuning in once more. You are tuning to Customs 101 webinar, and today we are talking about the customs clearance of passenger baggage at Entebbe Airport. My name is Nicholas Aruho, and in studios I have Edith Agaba, who is the supervisor for Entebbe. I have Showari Chigozi, who is the supervisor for enforcement, and Gilbert Kwaya, who is the in charge for enforcement at Entebbe Airport. And we heard from Edith, who took us through the process of clearing the passenger baggage. Edith, let me first come back to you once again to clarify on a few things. You talked about the allowance of $500. Kindly tell us more. How is this 500 computed? Are we looking at having one item that is above $500, or you add up all the items that I have? And also you talked about the commercial element, that if they are commercial, even if they are below $500, they are charged taxes. Kindly shed more light on those 2 elements.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. About the 500, how we compute $500, first of all, the passenger should always have, it is very vital that you have a receipt. $500, we don't compute it on one item. No, you are a passenger, you bought these items, and you show us your receipt. It's within the range. That is, for example, if you bought your clothes, 5 dresses, your husband's coat, your children's clothes, and you show us the receipt, and we see that it is within $500, then there you are exempted. But if you come with one phone, iPhone 14 Pro, it is personal, yes. But when we ask for the receipt, or all of us know how much iPhone 14 Pro is, that one automatically is above $500. Even if it's one item and it's above the threshold, then there, and it is dutable, as in it is supposed to pay taxes to the country, then there we assess taxes, because you're already beyond your threshold as a passenger. So computation of $500, it's not one item, but it's the receipt or the total of the amount of the items that you have. Then you wanted clarification on
yes, on the commercial
items.
Yes.
There are people doing business. So you go, you buy like 20 bundles of boys' shirts. Of course, those are not personal. You have bundles, you know the commercial items, you can look at them and see them. For example, if you bring button phones, these button phones, and they are 20. if you are to calculate their taxes, if you are there are 20 button phones. You as a passenger, you cannot have personal effects of 20 button phones. And on top of that, if you are to see their value or their receipt, it's less than 500 US dollar. But the nature they are in, they are 20, they are less, they are less than 500 US dollars, the threshold amount, but they are in a commercial form. So those ones, they will have to be assessed and pay taxes. Because you as a passenger, you cannot use 20 button phones. So it is not, it's not personal, it is commercial.
Okay.
Hopefully,
thank you so much, Edith. That is clear. So you look at the quantities involved and you use your discretion to tell whether this is a personal item that someone is going to use or it is of a commercial value. Yeah, thank you so much. And again, I would like you to clarify for the viewers to understand. If I go out and get gifts, if I go out, they give me gifts, or I buy some gifts for my family members, do you charge me taxes if I'm just taking them to give them away?
it depends on the kind of gifts. Like still, it is within the discretion of the officer. For example, if you go and bring gifts worth 20 of perfumes, there you will be exempted with 500 mils, which is exempted under 5th schedule, but the remaining, they will pay taxes. Because the fact that they are gifts, I noted somewhere that donations and gifts pay taxes unless they are exempt.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Edith, for clarifying on that. Now, you talked about, during your presentation, you talked about restricted and prohibited items. Now I want to come to Gilbert, who is in charge of enforcement at the airport. Kindly throw more light on restricted, prohibited items and contrabands. Tell us what they mean, the examples, and how you handle them when they are imported.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Good morning, viewers and those listening. Choir Gilbert is my name, and I'm the in-charge enforcement. There's something very interesting that Edith brought up, you know, looking at the process how these passenger goods are cleared. Now, when you go back, you realize that sometime back we used to have, I think, one scanner. There was a single scanner, and you'd see the commotion, a very long line, a queue of passengers and what. Yes. So you'd find that sometimes we used to just, it was a bit of selection. So this one you pass, this one pass. These ones, okay, there are those ones who would straight away go to the red channel because they had goods there. Yeah. And then those ones who should have gone through green, now we're going to selection. You pass, and even you'd find that the crew members would even pass, and yet they are supposed to go through the red. But this has been at least sorted with the 3 scanners. Sorry, 2 other scanners added there. So right now we have 3 scanners functioning very well with customs officers manning them. So it helps us also to detect some of these prohibited and restricted items. Now, prohibited items are mainly those items that are not allowed to be imported in the country. They're not allowed, we don't allow them in the country. And actually, when you look at, when you go back to our Act, you'll see from Section 18 to Section 20, talking about the prohibited and restricted items, and referring you to the 2nd schedule where they are mentioned. So most of these restricted and prohibited goods, it's all over. It's not specifically to Entebbe. Whether it's whole country that all of these goods are restricted and prohibited. Now the restricted items are those, just like how Edith explained, are those that we wait, it's pending clearance from the other authority. So you'll find goods that UNBS has to certify and say that this one here is allowed within the country. You'll find NDA has to say that these drugs have to come in. There are these drugs that normally disorganizes the heads. You know, these psychotropic drugs. Those are restricted items. So they need first test them and say, why is this person coming to use them? Why should they be used? in what kind of quantities this person bringing them. So those are some of the items that are got within Entebbe. So people used to take advantage before because of the commotion around and because we didn't have the scanners. So most of those things used to happen from the conveyor belt, because now everyone knows what is restricted and what is prohibited. So they used laptops, according to the Financial Act, that's 2009. There are 9, those ones, and the TVs and what. So people can take advantage at the conveyor belt and remove some of those laptops. You will find when someone has stuffed them on the body. We have a lot of those cases. You will find, because the goods have to go through the scanner. Now, when the person puts it on the body, it might, we don't do the body scanning. We have the machine for body scanning, but I think because of some legal issues, we don't use it. But then goods have to go to the scan. So now people take advantage and remove some of those restricted or prohibited goods and put them on their bodies. So that means that the enforcement now has to be very vigilant, mainly right from the conveyor to the scanning point to the exit point, because that's where you can easily detect some of those prohibited and restricted goods. So very many of those are gotten within. Mainly in Entebbe, we have the used laptops, and we have continuously sensitized people that these are prohibited goods. But you will find that they will continuously bring them. At the moment, what I can say is that there's at least a big change, because the numbers are reducing. A long time we would get suitcases and suitcases of such prohibited goods. And you'd find that there was a bit of syndicates there, which we managed to penetrate and curb. So people used to bring them. We have things like drones, which are restricted. Drones are restricted because of, I think there was a time when people misused the drones. There was a time when people used to bring them, but then they misused them. And then now came from defense, said that no, that these goods should be tested, should be seen. So you'll find that most of the time when we scan and we see that there's a drone in your baggage, it's removed. It's normally handled by our police officers at the scanners. And then what happens is that we retain these goods and pending clearance from defense. So that's how we handle most of the. But then for the contrabands, just like how it is said, the prohibited goods, those ones are seized immediately. So and it goes through the offense process, and most of them are either forfeited, depending on what management decides on those goods. I hope I've explained a bit of the restricted.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gilbert, for that explanation. You've really explained what restricted and prohibited mean. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Once again, this is Customs 101 webinar, where we are handling the clearance process for passenger baggage at Entebbe Airport. And you can type your questions in the chat. Go to the chat room, type in your question. There is already someone on standby who is answering questions, but where necessary, we shall read some of them and answer them live. And thank you for joining us once again. Follow URA on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and you will get more information. And after we shall share this webinar, we shall share this presentation on our YouTube channel. So whenever you miss, you can always go back and watch. Now I turn to you, Mr. Showari. You're the supervisor for enforcement at Entebbe. Gilbert here talked about restricted and prohibited, and of course many other things which may result in 2 offenses at the airport. So kindly take us through the process that you go through to manage these offenses when they happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. Good morning, viewers. Once again, my name is Showali Chigozi. I head the enforcement in Entebbe. First of all, Nicholas, we need to know how we detect these offenses. Like Gilbert said, from the conveyor belt, we realize people are splitting items with them on their bodies. Then also the scanners, that's why you can detect that someone has concealed something in that way of packaging things in the way they are not meant to be packaged. So we detect that. We can also detect an offense through interviewing someone. you realize someone is giving you false information, you detect that offense. Also, we carry on physical body search, and you find out that someone is having something on their bodies. So after examining that, then we embark on managing that offense. We get the client, because by then he's an offender, but we take him to be our client. We explain to the client the kind of offense he has committed. We take him through what is allowed and what is not allowed. So after convincing the client with that, then we take his or her particulars, we write them down, and in the process, we do what we call seizing the goods. We have that form, the seizure notes. We seize those goods, and we ask the client or the offender to write us a statement, to record that statement in acceptance or in confirmation that he has done that mistake. So after that process, we also get the client's particulars, like a national ID, we get the passport, in order to handle that client in a legal way within the range of our act. At that point, we go ahead to compound the case after this offender has accepted and asked to settle the case with URA. There is a case where someone will not accept to settle the case and opts to go to the court. So we leave that case and we let the legal department handle that matter. But after that, if he accepts to settle the case with URA, what we do, we compound basing on the nature of the offense. If it is a case of prohibited items, those ones we compound for forfeiture. Or if it is a case of other dutable items like the mobile phones and other items, we compound and that person pays a penalty. In most cases, the penalty is 50% of the value of the goods. If it was a case of concealment and outright smuggling. So from that, we issue the payment slip of the penalty to the client and we let the client pay. But there is a case where the client may not have money to pay there and then we deposit the goods. We issue a deposit note and deposit the goods. We let the client go and look for the money to come back and clear the goods. But if he has the money, he can pay there and then and lives with his goods. Briefly, that is the process, the offense management process.
Oh, Nicholas, can I add something small on that?
Yes, please go ahead, Gilbert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shawai. Now, I also want to elaborate something on, there are certain offenses which we handle with the different, we have different agencies at the airport. You'll find that now, like the narcotics, when you bring in, those are prohibited goods. You bring in those drugs that are prohibited. Straight away, you will find that we are in liaison with all other agencies. You'll find there's narcotics police there. You'll find AVSEC there, everyone. So you'll find almost all of us handle that one together. So you'll find that this one is now given to the other body to continue with that offense. Like minerals. Minerals now, when a mineral like gold or something like this comes, you'll find that the mineral police is already aware. So they will always be around. So we normally work together with them when it comes to such a restricted item. For drones, as I said it, the police is already there. What we do is just to retain and wait. Because most of the time, if they fail to get clearance, they normally come and take them back when they are proceeding. Because they come back, get a pass and take back the item if they fail to get clearance. Then for other medicines and all that, you find immediately we have medicine before we get clearance. Because medicine can be restricted, but it can also become prohibited when you do like the expired drugs and all that. Straight away we have to seize. We have to seize, and then we also inform NDA to come in and look at that. So there are very many of some of these offences that we work together with other agencies.
Thank you so much, Gilbert. Thank you so much for that addition. It was very, very necessary. Thank you so much, viewers, once again for tuning in. I'm seeing some of your questions in the chat room. Continue putting your questions there. Mr. Simon is answering some of them already. Simon is our colleague. He's the manager for Entebbe. So he's already responding to some of them, and I'm sure. But in case you're still not satisfied, you can still raise it here, and we shall make sure it is answered. And later on, we shall check them and answer them live. Now, Gilbert, I want to stay with you for shortly here. Talk about money. If I come in with money, if I'm coming from abroad, I've come in with my dollars, what is the procedure there? Do I need to declare the money? Do I pay taxes for the money? What happens?
That's wonderful.
Okay, Edith, yes, please come in.
Okay,
Edith is
thank
the
you,
money woman.
I think I should have mentioned it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicholas. According to Money Laundering Act, every passenger that comes into the country with $10,000 and above is supposed to declare. And that passenger declares it on Form C, the amount of money that she has come into the country with. It does not only happen to arrival side only. Even passengers who are departing, they are supposed to declare the money they are leaving the country with. They declare the money on Form D, and we get all that information. We bring it to intelligence and it's taken to find.
I think this is done in most countries. Even when most countries, when even you send money, you see when you send money, even they will question you. Say, how did you get that money? It's all over. It's mainly to try to track certain people, because money is very dangerous. Money can go into bad hands.
Yes.
Money can be used to do illicit activities.
Yes.
It can be used to fund rebels, things like that. So money has to be monitored.
Thank you so much, Edith and Gilbert. Let me come back to you, Edith, once again. You said that if I have goods that are above $500, you will make a declaration, a PB4, and I pay taxes. But you also said that the maximum is $2,000 for that PB4. So kindly clarify for the viewers, if I have my goods which are worth probably $5,000 or more, and I have come through the airport, what do I have to do?
Thank you so much, Nicholas. At the passenger area, I think I noted it somewhere that we capture PB4s that goods are within the range of 2,000 US dollars. Actually, not 2,000, 1,990. Because if it is 2,000, the entry will not be captured. So if you come in with your goods, you're in the red channel. I said earlier that we usually ask for invoices and receipts. And if you give us your receipt, it shows that it is above $2,000. The procedure is clear. That one cannot be handled at arrivals. We will put it on the cargo receipt and it is handled at cargo terminal. But with a clearing agent this time, then that means that passenger will look for the clearing agent to capture SAD IM4, but everything will be under cargo terminal, not passenger side.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Edith. Now yes, you're still going
even
ahead.
Even those goods that pass at arrivals and people come with letters, exemption letters, all those that are exempted, that means they are supposed to be captured under IM4. The clearing agent will capture those goods under that side and capture the CPC, the procedure code that is exempting the goods, which cannot be done this side of passenger area.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for that clarification. Viewers, thank you once again for tuning in. This is Customs 101 webinar on URA TV. And in the studio, I have Edith Agaba, the supervisor for Entebbe Capt. I have Showari Chigozi, the supervisor for enforcement Entebbe, and Gilbert Kwaya, who is in charge for enforcement. And my name is Nicholas Aruho. The questions, I see questions are coming in the chat room, but Simon is doing a very good job providing answers. Maybe let me just pick one or two that are not yet answered. We say something about them. Someone called Lele here is asking about how we assess the values for old phones and computers. He's saying that, let's say I have a laptop and a phone bought at $1,000. After 1.5 years, what's the value, and should people keep receipts for how many years? Now, I will direct this to Edith, but even before Edith answers, I will clarify to Lele that the used computers, as Gilbert told us, used computers are not allowed into the country. So those are prohibited items unless it's a personal laptop that you've been using. If it's one laptop, that's understandable, but other used computers will not be allowed into the country. But if you can clarify on how values are determined, and he's also asking, must they keep receipts for so many years? If you can say something about that.
Okay, thank you, Leila. There are always methods of valuation. And the first one is using your documents, using your invoice, using your receipt. So if you buy used phones and you have the invoice for the used phones, that means we are going to use your invoice. Earlier on, I said if you don't have the invoice, then we use next method. There is identical, there is similar goods, but at this point, we use value guideline, which contains all the values of different types of items that you're bringing. And if it is not even the value guideline, then we will go to, but here you are talking of used items. If it is, if they are new, we even go to Google and see what is the range value, what is the range. So that's, on this point, I really urge you, viewers, to please come with your invoices or receipts whenever you buy something.
Okay, thank you so much, Edith. There is another viewer here. I'm not sure I can easily pronounce the name, but he's asking about food, whether you have restrictions on food items. Do you have restrictions on food items? Edith maybe can take that as well.
It depends, like seeds, what type of food. There are different types of food. There are those ones that we need to consult the Ministry of Agriculture, yes, before we release or before. The flowers are not food, yes, but other types of food, we assess if they are taxable and you pay taxes.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're still adding?
That question is not clear. You should have said what type of food, because there are those foods that we call.
We have Nigerians come with their food. They are going to consume immediately. So those ones also with discretion. You look at the food. And this person is going to go and consume that food. It's not commercial. It's not something they're going to shoot. So I am not getting it also clearly.
It is not clear.
Even
and if it is a temporary visit, these are consumables. You are here within 3 months. That is under exemption, under 5th schedule.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that answer helped because you've clearly indicated it depends on the type of food. And if they are just personal effects, someone has moved with his food, it is okay, it is allowable. It shouldn't be a problem unless they are they fall within the category that is prohibited, if they are drugs or something. But if it is normal food, it should be okay. And then someone is asking, anonymous attendee is asking about the 5th schedule. I think he searched for the 5th schedule, but he didn't. He got other results. Anonymous attendee, I can clarify here, the 5th schedule is for the East African Community Customs Management Act. So when you go on Google, don't just put 5th schedule. You can first search for the East African Community Customs Management Act, or you can put the abbreviation EAC CMA. And then once you've downloaded the act, then you can search for the 5th schedule. That's when you will be able to get it. Then I'm looking at the questions here, those that are not yet answered. I see Simon is answering most of them. Another anonymous attendee is asking what happens to passenger baggage brought by transporters and it is less than $2,000. Who can take that? Gilbert?
That's it's not clear, but
brought by transporters.
And is less than
$2,000.
At this point, the transporter is the passenger. So he declares it as his baggage. And if it is less than $2,000 and it's dutable, then we assess taxes. If it has restricted items, we consult other regulatory authorities. If it has prohibited, then that is an offense management.
Okay, another anonymous attendee is asking that he's coming with books for personal use. So he's asking how many books are allowed per person and whether he's allowed to bring used books for personal use. Edith?
At this point, we noted earlier that the passenger allowance is $500 US. So every passenger should look at that and see what she's carrying. If she's carrying goods that are above $500 US, then they will pay taxes. If they are personal and they are within the range, it passes through Green Channel.
Okay, thank you so much. Gilbert, you will take this since you're the one who talked about used computers. Lele is still asking, what if I have more than one computer? He's saying that some people have more than one personal computer. So how do you deal with that?
Alele, thanks very much, Alele. More than one computer, and these ones are used.
Yes.
Used computers, because used computers are prohibited. These are prohibited items. So one thing that we do normally is try to see what kind of information you have. If you've been using the computer, it's your personal computer. It's your personal. I can't believe that someone will use maybe 10 computers or something like that. But then we try to interact with the person. We ask very many questions. So when you see that this person has maybe 2 used laptops, because I also personally have to use laptops, information, this one I stopped using this one and I'm using another one, so that one can pass.
Okay.
With personal information, and actually you will see that this person has been using this for a certain period of time. We try to engage, try to ask very many questions here and there. Person opens and shows, I've been using, you can see my information of 3 years back, my information of 4 years back, I've been using this. So there's a bit of interaction in that.
Thank you so much, Gilbert. So it's about discretion.
Discretion.
Yes. If you can be able to show that this is your used computer.
That's why I said
even if they are 2.
We cross-examine the passenger.
Yes, it shouldn't be a big problem. Yeah, thank you so much. I have Catherine Ranger. This one I would direct it to Edith. She was asking about making payments using Visa, using Visa payment so that their bags are not retained. Maybe you can clarify more on the payment options. Can people use Visa or other channels?
Thank you, Nicholas. I think what is important here is the PRN number. You might not use Visa at Entebbe because we don't have a Visa machine in our bank there. But you can use Visa, put in your PRN number and pay. You can use Visa card, you can use mobile money, you can use pay through the bank, any bank of your choice. You can use Payway.
And there are ATMs where someone can withdraw.
Yes,
in the
and
case,
ATMs.
Yes, where they can withdraw and pay. Thank you so much, Edith, and thank you so much, viewers. The questions are still coming in, but Simon is answering most of them. Maybe let me first come back to, as we conclude, let me come back to Mr. Showari. As the supervisor for enforcement, what would you like to tell the viewers, to advise them, or to make sure that they avoid these offenses that we talked about? What kind of advice can you give them as they plan their journey so that they don't fall within your offense area?
I think it is important to know what you're importing into the country. Read about what is allowed and what is not allowed. In most cases, people find those goods that are prohibited and they find them profitable here. And when they reach here, we definitely have to impound them. So I would ask the passengers to always look at what is allowed and what is not allowed. Have that information prior to their importation.
Okay, thank you so much. Edith, there is a question here. Someone is saying, if I travel as a family or company group, or a group of 5 to 10 in number, and everyone comes with a 55-inch screen within the range of $500, how would you treat such?
Thank you so much. We've faced these scenarios actually. But it also depends. You might, there are those ones, if you are a passenger and you have a 55-inch and you have a genuine receipt for it, even if you're 5 people and everyone has his TV, then you can go. But if it is a family, do you really want to tell me that you're going to use 5 TVs in one family, in one house? That one also needs discretion. You need to interact with the person and see how it goes. But here what is important is that every passenger should know that it's within the range if his receipt is within $500 US.
Yeah, thank you so much. So anonymous attendee, I hope that is clear. If you come and you come in your individual capacity, if yours is not above $500, then it can be okay. So now we are trying to conclude. Let me come back to Gilbert, who is in charge of enforcement. You tell us, you take us through these offenses. Which are the most offenses you normally see at the airport there, and how can passengers avoid them?
Thank you very much, Nicholas. One thing that I need to inform the travelers, the passengers, is that most of this information is on net. You can search and get information. There's special on restricted goods, prohibited goods. We have all that information around. So try to, just like what Shawari said, try to search before you get into the country. Some people come in when they don't know that not like for the laptops, used laptops. Very many at the beginning of last year, very many travelers would come in and they didn't know that there was a law in place with that. So it's very, very important. So some of the the offenses we get normally there. You'll find there's concealment. One of the things that I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of concealment. People putting, concealing mobile phones on their bodies, concealing laptops or used laptops on their bodies because they already know that these are dutables and the other ones are prohibited goods, so they conceal them. So we have that offense of concealment, which is handled according to section 202, whereby you have to pay 50% of the value, and those items are liable for forfeiture. So there's a lot of concealment. And there's smuggling. There's outright smuggling, where someone intentionally dodges the scanner, tries to dodge the scanners, or after passing through the scanner, he intentionally wants to exit with the goods. So he uses a bit of force to exit. We have very many of such cases. So those ones we shall handle you as someone who is struggling to smuggle. You're smuggling the items. So that and we shall handle you according to section 200, which is also 50% of the value. Then we have those ones who make, maybe you went through the wrong channel. So we call it a false, because when you go through a channel, you are declaring, that you're making a declaration. So when you go through that you said that I didn't have dutables, but in your phone to have dutables. So we shall say that you made a false declaration. That's according to section 46. So that one is also an offense. So we shall handle you according to that section. We have an offense whereby, you know, when goods are passed through the scanning, sometimes our non-intrusive officers mark packages and say, no, this package has got dutables. So when they direct them to the customs area, normally what happens is that they try to play around with the package, try to imitate those packages. So that one is also an offense. So according to section 195 of the Act, you're imitating or you are removing certain marks from a package. So that one you handled according to that section. So those are the main sections that and main offenses that you'll find within. Those ones are restricted and prohibited goods. Then those ones of the dutable goods there. So those are the main offenses that we encounter. Unless, have I missed any?
No, just
Yes,
to,
sure.
to add on, there is also issue of people splitting goods at the conveyor belt. They cut them and share them to make them as if they are hand carries. There's what they call hand carry. And they claim that they don't need to pay taxes on hand carries. There is also an issue of aiding smuggling within, either by airport staff or what. That is also one of the common offenses we are finding. Yes.
Yeah, you'll find baggage pusher hiding used laptops in those rubbish, the rubbish bins, and trying to sneak out. Or you'll find people trying to use other avenues to sneak out goods. Mainly they use laptops and that. So that one is mainly the connivance within.
Oh, thank you so much, Shawari and Gilbert. We are coming to the end, but let me pick what I'm seeing coming through the questions, and this will be the last one we are answering live, and I will direct it to Edith. If you can kindly clarify on the payment options, but also on used items. If people come with their used, I'm seeing questions on used clothes, used personal clothes and all that. So if you can clarify on the status of used clothes, do they pay taxes? And also, if you can also clarify once more on the payment options for taxes. I'm seeing people are still asking here.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. About used clothes, remember, as a passenger and your baggage, it is you who has been away for 24 hours and so. So if you have your used items, used goods, used clothes, used trousers, then those ones, you're free to go through green channel. Because they are used and they are yours, they are personal, you've been using them where you've been. Those ones, you're free to go with them. I think about the used clothes, I don't know whether they mean these ones that they bring into the market to sell. So it is not clear. If it is your personal effects, as in you've been using them outside Uganda and you are coming in, they are personal. Then there you're free to pass through Green Channel. But if you're bringing for someone else those used clothes which we buy from here, from Owino, from everywhere, then those ones, they will pay taxes. So you see the question is not very clear. Used clothes, are they yours?
I think it still goes back to discretion.
Yes.
The quantity, for example.
The quantity and
yes, and the way they are
packaged.
Yes.
Yes.
It could be the other one. You know the other.
Yes. We know there are some used clothes in the market.
No, like yesterday we had a passenger. She was coming from Vietnam. She had like 4 packages of used clothes, and she had traveled on Saturday. She traveled on Saturday last week. So we find that this is more of commercial than personal, and she had to pay taxes. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Then let me add something. Then again, we have to also be careful with the used, because there's also used undergarments.
Yes.
Yes, used undergarments are prohibited.
Yes.
And you know, leave this one which is yours, the one you've been used, but you know that these people who are bringing donations, they say they're bringing gifts, and they bring some of these used undergarments. These ones are prohibited.
Those are prohibited.
These ones are prohibited.
Okay.
And for donations,
yes,
if they are used clothes, they are donations, and they are taxable, those ones we assess taxes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, viewers. We are coming to the end of the show. Now I will allow my panelists to give their parting shots, starting with you, Edith. Lastly, what do you want to tell our viewers?
Thank you so much, viewers. I'm so happy that you've been listening and you've asked questions. That is a gesture that you really want to know what happens at passenger baggage. I think it is very important to know the law, as in as a passenger. Before you leave, you should know this is within my allowance. This is prohibited. This is restricted. So that there is no pulling strings at the airport. It's not good, but it is always very good to know from your side and to know from our side, so that we add up together.
Thank you so much, Edith. And viewers, you can contact URA on any social media platform.
Yes.
So wherever you are, even if you are abroad, if you are not sure, you can send your question, whether it's on Twitter or any other social media platform, or you can send an email, or you can send a WhatsApp. These days, URA also has a WhatsApp number on 0772 140 000, 0772 14 400. So you can send a WhatsApp, and we shall give you this information before you board the plane, so that you don't get disturbed at the airport. Mr. Showari, what will be your parting shot?
Yeah, like any organized society, there are do's and don'ts. Definitely here at the arrivals, we also have our do's and don'ts. And where the don'ts are practiced, that is where the URA police comes in, the enforcement. And we are telling you passengers that if you go contrary to what we allow, we shall also look at you. But again, Nicholas, we've developed a passenger clearance booklet, and we've tried to share it on different platforms, specifically for Entebbe, how people clear their goods. There is a lot of information that people need to look at. Please find that booklet. It is shared everywhere. I believe you also shared it on our portal.
Yes, and we are going to reshare it after this show.
Yes,
we shall reshare it on our social media platform.
So it is good for people to be equipped with information about their account.
Thank you so much, Showari. And Gilbert?
Thank you very much, viewers. Just like how Showari said, let us read. And another thing is that I would encourage travelers, let no one use you to bring goods that you don't understand, that you don't know. Because that is normally where problems come. Someone doesn't know that they're carrying used laptops. Someone doesn't know that they're carrying drugs. let no one use you carry things that you don't understand.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Shawari, you want to say something? I'll give you just 1 second.
Yes, something small. There is something that has cropped up of people calling others that you've received goods at Entebbe Airport. Please come and pick them. So it has been there now, and it is growing up. So we want to inform our viewers that there is no such kind of arrangement. If someone calls you for goods, let that person send you a payment slip for URA. Then you're traveling, sending money, someone's mobile account.
If you are not expecting goods,
yes, you're not expecting.
I had this yesterday.
And say that your goods have arrived.
So we receive many people crying, shouting for us that our goods are here. You're not giving them to us. You're denying us our opportunities. So maybe such things are not there. People should watch out on such fraudsters.
The fraudsters are many.
Okay, thank you so much.
Using staff pictures. For example, they bring Nicholas here.
They can use this picture of this show.
Yes.
And so thank you so much, viewers. Thank you so much. You've been, yes.
What about the payment mode?
Okay, 1 second. 1 second.
For the payment, as Arya said, you can use mobile money to pay your assessment. You can use Payway, it's there at the airport, to pay your assessment. You can use any bank of your choice to pay your assessment. You can use Visa. Visa card.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, viewers who have been tuning in from the time we started. This has been URA Customs 101 webinar, and today we are understanding the new passenger baggage rules at Entebbe Airport. I've been your host, Nicholas Aruho from Customs, and my panelists were Iditha Gaba, who is the supervisor for Entebbe Capt, Shawari Chigozi, who is the supervisor for enforcement, and Gilbert Kwaya, who is the in charge for enforcement. And we've been having Simon Esunget in the chat answering the questions, who is the manager for Entebbe, and I hope all the questions have been answered. If there are other questions that are not answered, we shall follow up and make sure that all of them are answered even after this show. As long as you submitted your question online, we shall make sure that you get the answer. Follow URA online on all social media platforms and send us messages on WhatsApp if you want to use WhatsApp. The number again is 0772 140 000. We shall give you all the feedback you need. Thank you so much for tuning in. That marks the end of our webinar. We shall see you next time.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing